I want you to check this out. This is what happens when you don't have enough social skills, you have not approached a lot, or maybe you have social anxiety and you've gone out to approach some people. Now, I remember the first time I was going out to do some approaches and it was extremely difficult, but it doesn't have to be this way. You see, I've been approaching women for the past decade so that you don't have to. And I'm going to share my only 3 tips when it comes to socializing so you can approach anyone, anywhere, at any time. So check it out. Hello friends and welcome back to the channel. This is your coach Arunav and we help men like yourself to get into a fulfilling relationship that you deserve. So if you're single, consider clicking the subscribe button. Now today we're going to talk about how to talk to anyone, anywhere, at any time. Now this is not only for women, this is also for men. There's something that you can do to be more social and to get out of your own shell. Now the first thing that you want to do, if you want to talk to anyone, anywhere, at any time, you got to take the initiative. Now most guys, most girls, if you want to talk to someone, you're not taking the initiative, it's not going to happen. But you also have to be positive while you're taking the initiative and you have to be optimistic about the whole approach. Now the first thing that I learned in my journey to approach anyone was to take the initiative. I always lacked that particular initiative. If I wanted to talk to someone, I was not positive. I always used to think that maybe it's not going to work out. Maybe what if I get rejected? And because of that, it held me back for a long time. So you have to be positive, you have to be optimistic, and you have to assume it will work. If you're talking to someone, why won't it work? You have to assume that you're a high value person, and if you're talking to someone, you're giving them an opportunity to talk to you back, which is a big opportunity. So you're adding some kind of value in their lives. Now most guys, when they're going out and they want to talk to girls, what happens is they're going out to approach a girl and they're thinking, okay, maybe I'm disturbing this girl, maybe I'm taking something out of their life. Now what happens is they're not adding value. They don't come from a perspective of adding value to another person's life. So the perspective over there is me taking something out of their life. Now understand this. I want to give you a small analogy to clear this. I tell you today to go out there and ask 100 rupees from any guy on the road, how would you feel? Or if I tell you to give like 100 rupees to any guy on the road, how would you feel? So the feeling that you would get is going to be completely different. The emotions that you're going to counter is going to be completely different because you're going to feel much more comfortable when you're talking to someone where you're adding value. So always know what value you bring on the table. And for this reason, I'd always tell my clients that why don't you just write 5 things that you can add to a girl's life if she's in your life. It can be as small as positive emotions, maybe you're a genuine listener, maybe you're an empath, maybe you really care about her. It can be anything, it can be smallest of the small things, but you need to add value in every conversation or else it's not going to work. Don't take rejection personally. Now, me included, I think, I've taken rejection personally, but the more approaches you do, the more you realize it's not only about you, it's also about the other person you're talking to. What I mean is, like, example, you go out today. You meet this girl who's sitting on the corner, she's very silent. Maybe her dog died. And you go and you approach her and she's like, my dog died and I'm very frustrated. Next guy who comes to talk to me, I'm just going to take out my frustration on him. And she takes out her frustration on you. Now, are you at fault anywhere? You're not. Now, people who are insecure, people who have not done approaches before, they take rejection personally. And for this reason, I would suggest that don't take any rejection personally because it doesn't show what kind of a person you are. Maybe the girl is in the wrong headspace. Maybe the other person talking is in the wrong headspace. At that point of time, you cannot do much about it, so don't even think about it. Because that rejection is not going to change anything in your life. You're still going to have the same food, what you were eating the day before. You're still going to be talking to the same people you were talking to the day before. You're still going to have the same relationships. Nothing is going to change. Now, the next thing is, you need to ask follow-up questions once you've done the approach, once you've started the conversation. You need to ask follow-up questions to carry the conversation forward. Now, most men I've coached, when they're approaching a girl, they get stuck. They freeze. And what happens is, they're not able to carry the conversation forward. Now this happens because you don't have a clear direction where you want the conversation to go. Now she might give me the same response, she might tell me what she does, but again, this question is going to spike her emotions up because she's going to feel good about herself. Oh, this guy's complimenting me on my fashion sense. So you need to spike another person's emotions up so that they're more willing to invest in the questions you're asking them. And then you need to take the responsibility of carrying that conversation forward. Now, how do you carry that conversation forward? You don't go interview mode. You do not keep on asking question after question after question because then it's a one-sided interaction. What you need to do is you need to expand on the response to build relatability. Now, there's a video I was planning to do on relatability. If you guys want that, let me know in the comment section below. But what I mean is basically if I ask a girl, are you a fashion stylist? You have such a beautiful outfit. She's like, no, I'm a writer. Now I can expand on her writing stuff. Like, oh, what do you write about? I've been an avid reader. I love reading novels about self-help, fiction. What do you write about? Now, what this is going to do for the interaction is going to build relatability because the girl is going to feel that okay, this guy's asking me questions about my own self, then she'd be more likely to invest. Girl, guy, anyone, all right? Expand on the response to build relatability. Now, once you've started the conversation, you've built that relatability. If you're still anxious, if you're still feeling anxious, always aim for progressive desensitization. Now, progressive desensitization is basically expanding your comfort zone little by little, putting yourself out there, feeling anxious the first time, but the second time the anxiety is going to be less. So, for this, you need to understand the more approaches you do, the less anxious you feel. Now, there are times when I'm going out and I'm actually anxious when I'm before approaching, and I'm like, okay, I could do this approach, but after the first, second, third approach, that's where my anxiety completely goes. So most guys don't even reach that place. Most guys would just go out, do 2 approaches. Oh my God, it's too much. But the more approaches you do in the lesser time, you cut off your thinking mind. Once you cut off your thinking mind, you don't feel that anxious and those negative emotions. Also, don't have an outcome in mind. Let go of all the expectations that you have when it comes to the approach. Because if you have an expectation that, I'm going to impress this girl, I'm going to impress this guy, what happens is you're going in with that expectation. Now, any shift from their emotions, any shift on their facial structure, what's going to happen is you're going to feel that, oh, this person is probably, he don't like me. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. Then you're going to get in your own head. So let the expectations go. Now, even when I'm going out, it's not like I'm going out and I have this expectation that I'm going to meet an attractive girl every night, I'm going to get her home. The expectation is, even if I can meet a girl and I can talk to her and I can have a good conversation, or maybe a decent conversation where I'm actually having fun, that conversation is going to be good enough. So the expectation is not about getting a girl home, impressing the girl, but it's more about, even if I can have one good conversation with a person who I can relate with, that's good enough. Now, the last thing you need to do is you need to expand your comfort zone with each approach. Now, you might be thinking, okay, if I'm going out to do approaches, what's the worst thing that can happen? A guy can come up, and maybe a boyfriend can intrude the conversation. But what happens once you have actually dealt with a lot of those situations don't seem like, a really heavy situation. Now, personally for me, this was my biggest fear when I started doing approaches, when I started going out and talking to people, that, okay, what if the guy comes in and he beats the shit out of me? But you need to understand, no one wants confrontation. So if you're a guy who's just having fun, if you're enjoying with your approaches, if you have a smile on your face, no one actually wants to kill the fun. So even if the guy comes in, you might get scared a little bit, but you can just give them a compliment. Hey, you guys look great together, and you can leave from that place. So understand, every situation which you might feel right now is out of your comfort zone, it will get in your comfort zone the more you do the approaches. And if you don't have any ill intent, you don't have any expectation, no outcome, then those approaches are going to be successful. Now, you also need to build a lifestyle of movement. Most guys, when it comes to doing the approaches, they don't have a lifestyle of movement. Most guys are just sitting at home, working from home, or maybe they're going to the office, back to the gym, and back home. Now, if you don't have a lifestyle of movement, it's not very regular for you to go out to a mall, maybe a coffee shop, what's going to happen is you're going to be uncomfortable in those situations. So you need to build comfort in those kind of situations as well. And if you're a guy who doesn't go to the nightclubs, bars, and maybe party places, the more you expose yourself, the more comfortable you get with the environment as well. The more comfortable you are with the environment, the less anxiety you feel. Also start by taking small steps. If you're a guy who's learning about this, now I remember my own time back in Singapore when I was learning about this, I had extreme anxiety. I was like, okay, I was pushing the approach, 1 month after the second month, I was watching all this content, but it was not helping. It was like mental masturbation. I'm learning about all of this stuff, but I'm not applying it. So after 3 months, I finally set a date, which is going to be, my biggest advice to you is set a date for doing your first approach. I finally set a date and I was like, okay, I'm learning so much, I'm investing so much time, might as well try it, and this is the day I'm going to try it. If I don't do it by this day, I'm not going to think about it, because at that time, already 3 months has passed. I'm looking at people, I'm watching people, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this approach this way, that way, this way, and it's not happening. Whenever I'm in the field, which means I'm near a bar, restaurant, in a daytime location, in a mall, I see that beautiful girl walking, so many negative thoughts used to come to my head, all because I was pre-planning this. So pre-plan any approach, because approach has too many variables to pre-plan. So even if you pre-plan the best James Bond kind of approach, it might not work like that. And if you don't meet your expectations, your state is going to crash and you're not going to enjoy that moment with that particular person. So make sure you have no outcome in mind when you're doing these approaches. I want you to use all this information. Let me know in the comment section how it goes for you. Let me know how your first approach went. I can probably give you some tips. But if you actually want to learn how women want you to talk to them, all you need to do is click on this video and this will take you there.